Alright, good morning friends and family. How's everybody doing today? Glad to see everybody. As usual, the best light is not always encompassing the best view. But if you can look back right over my shoulder there, you're going to see that is a small bridge just south of the Oxbow Dam. We're in Idaho. Not quite into the panhandle, but close. We're on the Snake River, and we're headed towards the why can I never think of where we're headed? To Hell's Canyon. My wife and I have only been talking about it for 1,000 times over the last 2 days, but such is life, right? Wait till you're on camera and then you forget everything. So I'm going to do one little spin here. I know that can be a little bit obnoxious, kind of, the spinning camera. So I'll kind of go slow, but that way you can see sort of the backgrounds and just how rugged it is out here. It's really a spectacular scenery throughout this area. Just a rugged, non-peopled place for the most part that very few people get to. I mean, there's plenty of people here, as it goes, very rural. But so it's not like there's not people. I mean, there's a dam right there. But gosh, this is just an area that most people probably in their life, honestly, won't get to. If you ever get to Hell's Canyon Dam out here, you've probably done something special for yourself. I'll just say that. The lady we talked to yesterday said, she's like, you better just go powerboating, if you're already out here, whatever the cost, you just ought to go. And she's probably right. So we're probably in day 60 or 70 of our journey, or 80, I don't even know. We started on June 8th, and today is something like August 10th. So that's 60 days, I guess. And it feels like a lifetime that we've been kind of on hiatus. It was only, my last day of work technically was only June 3rd. And, here we are, just out living the good life, as it were, taking an extended hiatus, an extended vacation. More green grass to enjoy. You can see that right behind us. I'm going to stay on this angle. I'm not going to give you the killer views because, first of all, the light doesn't support it. And second of all, you just got to get out here and get them to yourself. No little tiny iPhone 4 video is going to make you see what I see and hear what I hear right this second. So there's that. But just wanted to talk a little bit about today, the idea of Tantra, Tantra. Tantra, you've heard of tantric yoga, and some people have heard of tantric sex, and that's like a big deal. And I had a funny story about that when I was back in Colorado with my good friend Bill, and we met a girl at like a vegan, an all raw deal, and we'd just been down in Loveland watching the tantric monks from Tibet come through, and they taught everybody a bunch of stuff, and so I said something about Tantra, and she kind of looked at me, like, not wide-eyed, but very suspect. I just met her at this thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all into the Tantra these days. And that's because, there's a big thing about tantric sex, right? Tantric sex, as I understand it, and I don't even know a damn thing about it, is like cycling the energy, basically like reversing the sexual energy flow such that you can harness that energy versus expelling it, right? And But the word, and that's tantric sex. You can have tantric anything, right? So, but the word tantra was explained to me by that monk as looking at your life totally different, like in reverse. And what that means to me is, Carlos Castaneda, I'll give you another, before I tell you what it means to me, because I don't really know if I can tell you what it means to me in a little video blog, but Carlos Castaneda talks about the second attention and the first attention. That the first attention is very much like this. There's me on the video. There's my children running races in the background. Isn't that great? And but Carlos Castaneda talks about the second attention, how everything is, normal life is the first attention, and then this other form of perception is the second attention, and in my opinion, that's what peak experiences are. People can go their entire life and, maybe have one or two insights into, the true structure of life, or the true nature of life, or the true nature of the self, and those kinds of things, and they may not. Maybe it just happens at the moment of death. People who've had near-death experiences talk about knowing, themselves as something different, as not themselves, or the realization that they themselves are not their body. That's kind of the fundamental definition of an out-of-body experience. How can you have an out-of-body experience if you are your body? And I don't think anybody's questioning that we are our body effectively, because, the body is like ashes to ashes, but yet we kind of live like that, some of us, and believe like that. And without getting too philosophical or dogmatic, just this idea of like seeing the true spiritual nature of life is compelling. That's what I believe Don Juan, who was the character of Carlos Castaneda, kind of Carlos Castaneda's alter ego, I believe, said, is the second intention, this perception. And there was a crazy story once about this, and I don't know if this helps or not. It's a little bit, could be morbid, but I appreciated what the guy said. Is Don Juan was teaching Carlos in the desert, and he said, Carlos, when I was a younger man, I witnessed my child die. He was crushed. We were out doing like some sort of construction work, building a dam or something, and he was crushed. And he said, in that moment, as I lay there watching my child die, it was overwhelming. He says, so I shifted my attention into the second attention, or I looked at it like a sorcerer, and I saw him. And Carlos Castaneda always uses the word to see in italics. It's like a word, I guess, that we don't have in English, to see. Kind of like Avatar, I see you, right? But when they see, as a sorcerer sees, he said, I shifted my attention so that it was too overwhelming to watch my child die in front of my eyes, so I shifted my attention, and I saw him as a luminous being, and I saw his vital energy fading out of his life, and that's how I witnessed it. And again, that's kind of morbid, and that's not what I came here to talk about today, but rather, the Tantra, these monks who devote their lives to, looking at life in an opposite fashion. And the other day I was speaking here about, Einstein's theory of relativity. I mean, probably Einstein's theory of relativity, Carlos Castaneda's, visions of sorcerers seeing, and the Buddhist monks', vision of Tantra, in many, many ways are probably the same. If you really think about it, it's people looking at their normal life differently to perceive it as something greater, right? So we go through our life and, I've got my little house and my car, and you've got that, and here's a relationship and all those things, and everything's kind of judged on that one level. But then there's this more subtle plane of mind, if you will, or consciousness. And me personally, I'm a believer. What that means is I believe it all. I believe that what Carlos Castaneda said is true. I believe what those monks say is true. I believe what Jesus said was true. And all of that. I don't think it's exclusive. I think it's many, many ways to say, to name the nameless, the nameless soul. So that's kind of the fresh thought for the day. It was actually off of a note that I left myself a few days ago. I have no idea why I even wrote that down, Tantra. But that's what I got on that. Kind of the other deal that I was thinking about is who you're being. You see, like one of the great, and that's what kind of flows into that too. I mean, what we were just talking about is, a less subtle or a more sort of day-to-day, work-a-day way to look at that is, who are you being, right? Like when I checked out of, my corporate America job, it was for an opportunity to go and be somebody different. And in reality, it's like a process of uncovery. It's not even like being someone different. It's like you get to kind of find your true self in a way. And, it's a process. Nobody says that you come out here and you travel around. I mean, the other thing too is traveling is kind of hard. Like, one of the things we're realizing now is, or not realizing, but I kind of feel it each day is, there's some work associated to it. I mean, believe me, I love not having to be anywhere and getting to explore. It's very exploratory, but, even the explorers, as compelling as that is, there's work to it. You got to find a place to stop and have breakfast and all those things. So we're getting along just fine. I'll let you know that. And as an example, one of the things this morning is my kids woke up. We slept in the car last night, which we've only done that one other time. In 60 days of travel, we've slept in the car twice. The only reason we did it last night was because we didn't want to get out and build camp at 11:30 at night when we got there. We were basically at a campsite, but we just said, you know what, we're just crashing right here because it's going to be another hour to get the tents and the inflatables and all, you know, brush our teeth and all these things. So we just made quick work of it. But as we were driving, you know, down further the road this morning, my daughter woke up and they said, hey, we're hungry. And we just kind of said, okay, we'll stop here in a little bit, and, you know, we have some bread and some peanut butter and some bananas and some fresh fruit and all this, and we'll just kind of have a little continental breakfast, and a little intracontinental breakfast here in Idaho, the wilds of Idaho. And before too long, my wife saw a snake on the road, a dead rattlesnake that had been run over or hit by a car, and we got to get out and look at that. But then sure enough, a few feet down the road, we saw like just infinite amounts of blackberry bushes. So we clapped our hands real loud to make sure that, you know, there weren't snakes around. It was kind of in two different areas, but just in case. Somebody drove by while we were looking at the snake and told us that, you know, they're pretty popular around here. So we clapped our hands and made sure we had boots on. We weren't walking into the thickets, but we stood right there on the side of the road and picked, you know, probably 5 bowls full of blackberries, fresh blackberries. It would have cost, you know, $20 at the grocery store, but we had them for free. And, you know, I kind of shared with my kids how, as I understand it, when you eat you know, fruits and vegetables that are grown in the area that you're in, that's even more healthy than just eating fruits and vegetables that you might get at the store that came from somewhere else, right? Something about the weather and the environment it kind of gives you what you need. It, you know, that nature sort of you know, stacks its deck, if you will, from a nutrient profile standpoint for the local consumer, right? That's just kind of how it works, as I understand it. I'm not saying that's true, but that's what I've heard. So we got to explain that and talked about how, you know, wow, this is like amazingly healthy, amazingly tasty, and free. What more could you want? So, you know, we're being taken care of out here. I mean, life, you know, minutes after asking for breakfast, it was granted. We've since pulled over into one of the many beautiful campsites here in this area along the river, and we made our peanut butter, and we actually, instead of doing peanut butter and banana, we did peanut butter and blackberry. We had so many, and it was awesome. It tasted just like peanut butter and blackberry jelly, but you know, the journey is a worthy one, and you know, I'm so happy that we've taken it. I'm so happy to share it with you guys as transparently as possible, and as consistently as possible. You know, taking a hiatus from your work is a worthy thing to do. If you know, just because you leave work doesn't mean you're not going to go back to work. My personal hope is that I don't ever have to go back to, you know, punching a clock or working for a salary. I think that there's ways like this video blog and like the blog that I'll build around it, and like the blog that we'll build around the pictures that my wife is taking and kind of documenting our journeys. You know, that's a form of work. It's a form of labor and expression, but it's one that fits our lifestyle and our schedule versus never really, you know, that was how I felt. And you know, I don't know how people are going to perceive this. I mean, one of the things that I think about a lot of times is how will all my old coworkers think about this, but I got news for you. If that's what's stopping you from, you know, doing your video blog, what people are going to think about you, you know, you ought to look into a little Tantra and look at your life differently, because the other side of that coin, I do believe, is there's such a bigger piece of the pie out there. You know, my idea is through this blog is to create a lifestyle, you know, to have income and to have opportunities and to work and to toil, but to do it on our terms. And so that's sort of the idea. And I challenge you, where you sit right now, it's probably midnight. You're probably done with all the porn maybe already, guys. Girls, you're probably off of Amazon at this point or whatever, or porn, I don't know. You know, who knows when and where you are watching this, but I'm here to challenge you as I sit here, you know, looking up at the Oxbow Dam on the Snake River. I'm actually in Oregon. I've been saying Idaho this whole time. We've been in Idaho for a week, and I swear to goodness, we just passed a sign, and I only just now remembered it, that it said "Welcome to Oregon." So it's basically at the border. You know, the Snake runs kind of between Idaho and Oregon, and ultimately turns into the Snake River Valley, which is a huge deal out there in Oregon. We're going to go see all that. Though we're going to get out of this area and go up north again first. So we're not going like down the Snake the whole way or anything. But as I sit here, I challenge you, wherever you are, you know, you know why you need your hiatus. For me, it was to regain my health, you know. I mean, I wasn't exercising for shit. Now, that's kind of my problem. But, you know, when you work 10 and 12 hours a day, or and you have kids and you're just trying to do all these different things, sometimes that's not happening. So for me, I mean, it's kind of crazy, you know. It's like, probably I should have. Okay, my video ran out. My phone battery died a little while ago at our little stop prior to this amazing canyon view. So I'll kind of try to land the plane here. Mainly I was just trying to say that I would challenge anybody there that's watching this video to find their own reason for hiatus, because it is a lovely, lovely exercise. God, the hair is just ridiculous. The homeless hair is just ridiculous. Hell's Canyon, and they do jet boats down that way. We were just up north of there to drive down the river, but it takes about 5 hours in a car, so that's what we've been doing. That's why we stopped off and slept last night, and that's what we did. So I'm going to do that for us. Okay? In my last video, which is probably really just a continuation of this video, I was saying that we were actually in Oregon, and it was true. We'd been in Oregon for several minutes, but as soon as we left that campground and we crossed across that bridge, we went back into Idaho. So amazing scenery up here, as you can see, all around. That is the Hell's Canyon Dam. Basically, under this very peak that we're on, there's an old road tunnel, because the river, the road that we used to go along the river is now covered by this reservoir. But the old road and the old tunnel are all still down there. So friends and family, the adventure continues. We're here at the Hell's Canyon Creek Visitor Center, just below the Hell's Canyon Dam, and this scenery is unbelievable. And we just watched a couple of movies in the Visitor Center and talked with a nice lady in there a bit, and just an unbelievable story here, that the Hell's Canyon area was actually where the North Atlantic Plate and the Pacific Plate, through the phenomenon of plate tectonics, collided some millions of years ago, 12 million or so. And we were just on the other side of these rugged walls last night. It took us 5 hours to get in here. It would have taken us an hour by boat, as stated earlier. But in Riggins, Idaho, and in Riggins there was a little plaque there that said just as much, that when those plates collided, there's all kinds of what they call metamorphic rock in this area that was formed, and that's why it formed silver deposits and gold deposits and all kinds of ore, because of just the massive collision between the Atlantic and the tectonic plate, which created this whole area. And that, in fact, in the movie we just watched, they were saying that all of the area west of this area, the entire northwestern United States, was effectively islands in the ocean or ocean floor that just got moved here. And they said that, in fact, Los Angeles, California, will be right next to San Francisco, California, in about 12 million years. So the process continues, and it's just an incredibly dynamic set of features here that show how amazing this area really is. So if you're ever in Idaho, western Idaho, definitely make it a choice to come out here and see this just really amazing landscape. If you get a chance to do the jet boats, great. I wish I could give an endorsement of that. We did not do it, just because we don't so much have the time to do it. They have these non-motorized days up here, which is really great. It's a way for all the rafters to enjoy the river without the all the crazy speedboaters, because there's just a bunch of jet boating excited people out there riding these huge rapids up and down the river. So, any event, really lovely space and place. This is Hell's Canyon Creek Visitor Center, just below Hell's Canyon Dam, which we'll go see in a few minutes, and it's lovely. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for tagging along. Talk to you soon. Ciao. All right, good peeps. Here's another stellar view. We'll call this the river level view of the Snake River here at Hell's Canyon Visitor Center, just down from, as promised, as talked about, the Hell's Canyon. Oh, look at that. Look at that slick 2006 Sequoia. Woo! Party. Just down from the Hell's Canyon Dam. You can't really see it, except it's like right there where I'm pointing. So maybe you can see it, maybe you can't, not sure, but this is just unbelievable out here. It's totally phenomenal. Getting on the river would be ideal. We're not going to do that. We have to wait a day or two at least, and we just feel like we have so much to go do and see. Since we happen to have broached Oregon, the nice lady at the visitor center you know, we're in Oregon right this second as we're on this side of the river. If you're on the other side of the river, Idaho. But the lady was so kind to, you know, she had a bunch of Oregon maps, and my wife kind of freaked out. She's like, I cannot believe all the awesome stuff to see in Oregon. And we're not even supposed to be in Oregon yet. We were going to go up to Washington, then on around to Oregon. So we're going to make that happen. And you guys are going to be right there with us every step of the way. So glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. Talk soon. Okay. Lates. What do you think, honey?
It's cool.
Pretty nice, right?
I wish we would have a chance to do the jetboating, but we'll put it on our list for the future.
Yeah, I wish we were going to have a chance to do the jetboating too, but
Yeah.
unfortunately it just doesn't happen this time.
Yeah.
We have to wait.
Non-motorized days, and we have so much to do that we have to just keep moving on.
Keep moving on, I agree.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
See you later.
Okay, ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.